Wow, I didn't see this one coming. Out of all the wannabe summer blockbusters this year, the last one I expected to enjoy was a film about a 60-year-old Brad Pitt in what is arguably the least exciting motorsport in existence. But goddamn if this wasn't the most fun I've had in a movie theatre since Top Gun Maverick. I actually walked out of this film feeling good about myself and the world around me, and judging by all the smiles and the car engines revving just a little bit louder outside, so did everyone else who saw it. F1 is the kind of big, confident, unapologetically old-school summer popcorn flick that you just don't see anymore, filled with loving shots of engines and computers and exotic locations, action-packed races and big spectacular crashes, intense rivalries and hard-won friendships, grizzled old veterans going head-to-head with brash young rookies and refusing to back down. Instead of serving up some generic corporatized slop that tries in vain to appeal to everyone and satisfies no one, F1 knows exactly who and what its audience is, and it's happy to cater to them. Anyway, the movie follows Sonny Hayes, a one-time Formula 1 prodigy who retired from the sport after a bad crash that almost ended his life back in the 90s. After that, his life kind of spiraled out of control, and these days he's a gun for hire, travelling from place to place and throwing himself into any race that'll pay the bills. That is, until he's approached by his old friend and former teammate Ruben, who wants him to come out of retirement and race in his struggling F1 team, Apex. The team's been coming dead last in almost every race, and if they don't turn things around by the end of the season, they're gonna be sold off. Sonny reluctantly agrees to help, but his return is soon dismissed as a publicity stunt by the racing press and his fellow driver Joshua Pearce, who sees Sonny as a washed-up relic of a bygone age. The two men soon butt heads, and the rivalry spills over onto the track where they end up colliding, taking each other out in their first race together.
Fuck.
But the more they work together, the more Sonny's hard-won experience and unconventional approach starts to reap rewards, and Apex actually begins to move up the rankings. But as rivalries and resentments continue to simmer, men and machines are pushed to breaking point, and corporate forces inside the team conspire against them, can the two men learn to put aside their differences and work together to finally get that podium finish? Now, the plot I'm describing to you probably sounds pretty familiar if you've watched Top Gun Maverick or, well, almost any racing movie ever, really. Which is interesting since it was directed by literally the same guy who did Top Gun Maverick. What can I say? Joseph Kosinski's figured out what works, I guess. And maybe that's the point. I don't need every new movie to reshape the landscape of film forever. I just need it to be fucking good. And here's the thing, F1 absolutely is. It's a simple but effective story about rivalry and friendship forged through adversity and the passing of the torch from one generation to the next. The cocky, ambitious young rookie out to prove himself, and the aging hero risking it all for one last shot at glory. There's nothing here that you haven't seen before, but that doesn't make it any less enjoyable to watch, especially because it's been done by people who actually give a shit. Imagine that in 2025. Sonny and Joshua neatly balance each other out, neither man pulled down or undermined just to elevate the other. Joshua is the typical rising star, young and superficially confident, but also plagued by doubts and insecurities about the future, wondering if his career might be over before it's even begun. Damson Idris does a great job capturing Joshua's conflicted feelings towards his teammate and himself. He's a guy still struggling to figure out who he is and what he's worth, and instead of being a shallow antagonist, you actually find yourself rooting for him as the movie progresses. Sonny, on the other hand, is a man at the end of his career, still determined to prove himself despite his age, but haunted by the memories of his past failures. Honestly, it's so fucking refreshing to see movies that treat aging characters, especially male ones, with actual respect, instead of turning them into pathetic scapegoats for imaginary injustices whose only role is to shut up, sit down and move aside. In the hands of a different creative team, you just know that Sonny would be written as some arrogant, out-of-touch dinosaur and a clunky example of toxic masculinity. Probably played by Pedro Pascal.
Gay!
But let's not kid ourselves here, this is absolutely Brad Pitt's movie. He dominates every second of screen time like the seasoned pro he is, and I don't know what kind of pact this guy's made with the devil, but he somehow seems to be aging in reverse. Seriously, how the fuck is this dude in his 60s? You know, people often point to Tom Cruise as the last true movie star, and the only reason Pitt sometimes gets overlooked is because he's never really had a big franchise or series that he could call his own, probably through choice if I'm honest. That's a real shame though, because whatever particular combination of talent and charisma turns you into a movie star, he's absolutely got it in spades. On a technical level, I really can't fault F1. The racing sequences are superb, making heavy use of real-life tracks, events, and well-known figures in the sport to add to the realism. It's nice to see Gunther Steiner in there. Seriously, look up some of that guy's interviews, they're fucking hilarious.
How do you sum up your season then this year?
It's one short word. Shit.
My big worry going into this movie though was that the actual sport of Formula 1 racing isn't all that accessible to the average person, especially Americans. The cars on the track go round and round. It's too clinical, too precise, too dominated by impenetrable rules and regulations to make for compelling drama. But the thing is, this movie overcomes most of those problems by working within the constraints of the sport, instead of trying to ignore or rewrite them, having Sonny and Joshua exploiting loopholes and technicalities in each race to give them a tiny advantage, in a sport where tiny advantages ultimately have a massive impact. One thing people often overlook about real F1 teams is how much cooperation is expected between the two drivers, with one often expected to sacrifice position and opportunities to give the other a better chance. And yeah, this movie definitely plays fast and loose with how much shit they could actually get away with, but what the fuck? If you want a documentary about F1 racing, go watch Drive to Survive. If I had to pick out anything that bothered me, I'd say that the runtime is a bit excessive. 2.5 hours is kind of bloated for the amount of plot that's actually going on here, and the transition from the second to third acts takes longer than it should. I was never bored exactly, but I did start to wonder when the movie was going to kick into high gear again. Oh fuck, I'm doing racing metaphors now. You know, the older I get, the more my opinion of guys like Jerry Bruckheimer is improved. Say what you want about the bloated macho excesses of the 80s and 90s, but fuck me, that guy understands his audience and knows how to make movies for them. And F1 is a perfect example of this. It's a film made by and for men, because that's the target demo for any motorsport movie. And in a modern Hollywood that's practically bankrupted itself, trying to turn male-oriented brands with universal appeal into girl brands with zero appeal, guys like Bruckheimer have the balls to just stand there and say, fuck off, I'd rather make a movie that some people can enjoy than generic slop that nobody enjoys. And you know what? Part of me wonders if F1 might actually turn out to be the dark horse in the box office.
I hear your voice in the silence of the night, like a whisper so far, out of reach, out of sight. The shadows on the walls are all that's left of the love we had, now a memory in the depths. Time